السلام. جاهز أخي مصطفى؟ طيب، بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه. أما بعد. Last week we spoke about المد المتصل. You remember المد المتصل? What is المد المتصل? Anybody can remind us what is the مد المتصل? Yes, brother. Alaikum salam.
When there is mad, then that is followed by the hamza within the same.
When there is, say again?
A mad that is followed by hamza.
All right.
In the same word.
All right, mashallah. Do you agree with him? Yes. Jazakallah khair. You should have said harful mad followed by hamza. When harful mad is followed by hamza, then we have mad muttasil. What does muttasil mean? Connected. Which means that harful mad, the letter of mad, and the hamza are in the same word. This is what it means. Yes, brother Abu Yahya. All right. We mentioned something briefly, answering a question of Brother Mustafa last week. I just want to repeat it again, just to make sure you understood it. When we have al-mad al-muttasil, for example, the word, let's say, yasha, a word like this. A word like this has harful mad, the letter of mad here, the alif, right? Followed by a hamza. So it is mad muttasil. So we said that we do how many haraka? 4 or 5. The question was about if we stop at this word. If we are reading and then we stop here, what will happen? What will happen? We will have a sukoon instead of the dhamma. And because we have a sukoon that is non-original, because here we have a dhamma, we're supposed to have a dhamma. So because we stopped, we will have a non-original sukoon. So what kind of rule is this when we have harful mad followed by a non-original sukoon? Yes, Brother Abu Yahya. Mad al-arid al-sukoon. Now, this word has mad muttasil and mad arid al-sukoon. And that was the question, actually. What will happen in this case? Because we have harful mad followed by hamza, it is supposed to be mad muttasil, but also because we stopped, we have harful mad followed by a non-original sukoon, so we have mad arid lis-sukoon. So we have 2 mad in one. The problem is that how long are we going to make this, right? Because the mad al-muttasil is 4 or 5. But al-mad al-arid lis-sukoon is how many? 2, 4, or 6. When we say 4, if we say 4, it's the same, so there's no conflict. If we say 5 or 6, there's no real conflict there. But when we say 2, then there is a conflict because the mad al-muttasil is never shorter than 4. So what do we do in this case? We stick to 4 at least. Right? So the mad al-muttasil here in this case is stronger. What's the word that they use? Aqwa sababain. The strongest of the 2 causes. The strongest of the 2 causes is al-mad al-muttasil. Mad al-muttasil takes precedence in this case. It takes precedence. That means you shouldn't be making it lower. So let's say, for example, you are reading and you are making the mad al-arid lis-sukoon 2 haraka. When you reach this word and you stop at this word, you cannot make it shorter than 4. That's the first case scenario. The second case is if you are making the mad al-arid lis-sukoon 4 haraka. So you're making it 4. Once you get to this word and you stop, you make this one 4. Same as the mad al-arid al-sukun. The third case is if you are making the mad al-arid al-sukun 6. Then if you stop at this one, you could make this one 6. So that's not an issue. So the main thing here is that it will never go lower than 4, even if it is considered mad al-arid al-sukun. That means even if you stop on it, it will never go below 4. Is this clear? This is just a side note. You don't have to worry too much about it. So today we were going to speak about something similar to this, similar to al-mad al-muttasil. It is the rule called al-mad المنفصل. Oops. All right. Some people may get confused, may confuse this word with the other word, which is the muttasil. They are very similar. When you look at them, they are written very in a very similar fashion, except that this is munfasil. Munfasil means separate or disconnected. And what are we referring to when we say disconnected or separate? Yes, brother. Yes. So we are referring to harf al-mad and the hamza. Of course, when we spoke about the muttasil, which is this one, this example here, we said that both of them are in the same word. So the munfasil is when harf al-mad is in one word and the hamza is in the next word, which means that harf al-mad will be at the end of the first word, and the hamza will be at the beginning of the next word. That's the only way you can have this, right? So you have harf al-mad at the end of the first word, and the hamza at the beginning of the next word. That's the only way you can have mad muttasil, munfasil. So there are two things that we need to remember when it comes to these kind of mad. The first thing is that you know the condition. The condition is that we have harf al-mad followed by, in the case of al-mad al-arid al-sukun, it was a non-original sukun. In the case of al-mad al-lazim, it was an original sukun. In the case of al-mad al-muttasil, it was a hamza in the same word. In the case of al-mad al-munfasil today, it's a hamza in the next word. So this is something you have to remember. If nothing else, you have to remember this. And the second thing that you need to remember is how long is this mad going to be. Those are the two things that you have to remember. But there's a lot of things in Tajweed and in Tajweed books that will confuse a person. And you will not know, what do I need to remember from all of this? So I'm simplifying all of this for you and telling you that if you remember only these two components, you will be okay. You don't have to remember all those fancy words and stuff. Even if you don't remember this word, the word munfasil or muttasil, as long as you know how to do it, that's fine. I mean, I prefer that you remember the word, but if you don't, then it's not a major problem. As long as you remember the condition and how long is this mad going to be. So in the case of al-mad al-muttasil last week, we said 4 or 5. In some books you will find 6 as well. 4, 5, or 6. In this case, we have 2, 4, or 5. In some books you will find 6 as well. So 2, 4, or 5. What does it remind us of when we say 2, 4, or 5? Yes, brother Will. Al-mad al-arid al-sukun. We said the same thing for mad al-arid al-sukun or something similar. We said 2, 4, or 6. So this one is similar, 2, 4, or 5, or 2, 4, or 6. So, yes, brother.
Can you just repeat the rule you said about the Hamza?
Al-Mad al-Munfasl, the Hamza of this mad, this type of mad.
You said there is a rule we should understand.
I said regarding all the mudu that we took, because today is the last mad that we'll be speaking about. It's the last mad. So I said there are two things that you need to remember. Whenever we have harf al-mad followed by a non-original sukoon, then we have al-mad al-arid lis-sukoon. Whenever we have harf al-mad followed by an original sukoon, then we have mad al-lazim. Whenever we have harf al-mad followed by a hamza in the same word, we have a mad al-muttasal we spoke about last week. And finally today, whenever we have harf al-mad followed by a hamza in two different words, then we have a mad al-munfasil. This is the first thing you need to remember, which is, we can call it the condition. Harf al-mad followed by something, harf al-mad followed by something. The second thing you need to remember is how long is this mad? If you say mad al-lazim, how long is this going to be? So we said about the first mad, al-mad al-arid lis-sukoon, which is when harf al-mad is followed by a non-original sukoon. We said 2, 4, or 6. This is a mad that happens usually when you stop. Most of the time, not always, but usually when you stop, most likely you will have this condition. The second type of mad was mad al-lazim, is when harf al-mad is followed by an original sukoon. An original sukoon. And the original sukoon, of course, include the shadda, if you remember what we spoke about the shadda. In this case, we have 6 haraka, only 6. And then we have al-mad al-muttasil that we spoke about last week, which happens when harf al-mad is followed by hamza in the same word. And here we have 4 or 5 haraka. And then today we are speaking about al-mad al-munfasil, which is when harf al-mad is followed by a hamza, but they are in 2 separate words. And we said 2, 4, or 5. If you say 6, it's not wrong. There is something we didn't mention now. What is it? Al-mad al-tabi'i. We didn't mention al-mad al-tabi'i. What can we say about al-mad al-tabi'i after saying all this? This is like a summary. After saying this summary, what can you tell me about al-mad al-tabi'i? Yes, brother.
Less stronger.
Less strong? What do you mean strong? You mean less longer? All right. Jazakallah khair. Yes, brother Salim.
Under all of these situations, then that's the natural event.
All right. In other words, yes, brother Abdullah. Yes, Jazakallah khair. That's also true. That's also true. What you all said is not wrong, but what I was looking for is similar to what brother Salim said just now. Al-mad al-tabi'i happens when harf al-mad is not followed by a sukoon, whether it is original or not, and not followed by hamza. Right? This is now we are trying to compare al-mad al-tabi'i with the other 4 types of mad. So in order for it to be a mad al-tabi'i, the condition is that it shouldn't have a sukoon after it. Harf al-mad shouldn't have a sukoon, whether original or not. And it shouldn't have a hamza after it, whether it is in the same word or not. Right? The question that comes to my mind before we come back to the mad al-munfasal here, which is also considered, it is actually part of al-mad al-munfasal. And let's give an example, and then we'll maybe talk about the point that I was about to make. An example of al-mad al-munfasil. Alaikum salam. right, so this is this is an example of al-mad al-munfassil. I'm talking about this area here. In this area here, we have harf al-mad, the alif, which is harf al-mad, followed by hamza. So what is this kind of mad? Mad munfasil. So it is a mad munfasil. So in this case, how long is this mad going to be? 2, 4, or 5, right? 2, 4, or 5. So I can say inna a'taynak, or I can say inna a'taynak, or I can say inna a'taynak. You see the difference? All right. Anybody knows what is the common mistake here? Common mistake. Yes, brother.
Forgetting about the harakatain on the noon. Inna a'taynak.
It's not wrong, Jazakallah khair. It is a common mistake, but I was actually referring to the mad, something related to the mad. I understand that it is true that it is a common mistake that the noon mushaddada, people will tend to not to make it long enough, which has 2 harakat. Brother Slim.
To forget the hamza in na'tainaka.
Yeah, it could be considered a common mistake where people will not pronounce the hamza properly. Like they will kind of pronounce it in a lazy manner. So it's not sharp. It's not like a'tainaka. Right? It's going to be like half hamza, which is true. Yes, brother Abdullah.
Make it long. Like make it like.
They don't make it long.
Like 2 or.
You mean less than 2?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think it is a common mistake. It is a common mistake where people will make it less than 2, because here you have to remember that because all the options are there, a person can claim that I made 4, or I made 2, or I made 5, right? Right? He has all the possibilities. So the only time that he will be wrong is when he's making it less than 2. Brother Baghdad first, and then I'll come back to you.
Or maybe you don't pronounce well the first alif and it's not idgham. It's look like you.
You don't pronounce the alif at all.
Yeah. Not like.
And I don't think it's a common issue. Maybe you'll find some people doing it, but I don't think it's a common issue. The common issue is probably more like what Brother Abdullah was saying, that they will make the mad, but they will not reach 2 haraka. So it's going to be like 1 haraka or something less than 2. Yes, brother.
They ignore the hamza.
Say again.
They ignore the hamza.
They ignore this hamza
Yeah.
completely. I haven't heard people ignoring hamza completely, but what I mentioned earlier is that maybe some people don't pronounce it properly. They don't like say it properly, so they will eat a little bit of the hamza, but they may not. I haven't heard people ignoring it completely. Jazakallah khair. Yes, brother.
Maybe consistency, like always having it at 4 with the way reading.
Jazakallah khair. That's one of the major ones. That's one of the major problems is that you can catch a person making it 2 or 4 or 6, right? And he will claim that he's making it 2, right? He will claim that he always makes it 2, or he will claim that he always makes it 4, or always makes it 5. But then if he's not consistent throughout the reading, then it is a mistake. Let's say he made it 4, right? When he read this sentence, which is not wrong by itself, but because he read the previous sentence, he made it 2, then it is wrong. So you have to be consistent. And this is something we said something similar about what type of mad? Al-mad al-arid al-sukun. We said when we talked about al-mad al-arid al-sukun, we said if a person decides to read the mad al-arid al-sukun with 2, then he has to go 2 all the way. Of course, within the same sitting or within the same rak'ah or surah that he's reciting, then he has to be consistent and go 2 all the way. If he prefers 4, he has to go 4 all the way, or if he prefers 6, then go 6 all the way. He cannot like read one ayah with 4 and then one ayah with 6 and then the next ayah with 2 and then mix and match. So that was one important common mistake in this mad al-munfasl. The other common mistake, this is not the perfect example for it, but let's assume that the person will stop here. Like he's reciting and then he'll stop right after this word. What kind of mad we will be dealing with? Yes? Do you agree with him? It's not very obvious. it's not very obvious. Because this is the common mistake. This is one of the best sellers. You will find a lot of people making this very mistake.
Is it considered an original sukoon on the other?
Yeah, what if we consider it sukoon? What is wrong with this statement that the Brother Muhammad said?
Never mind, it would come out.
All right.
Sorry, take it back.
All right. All right.
It's still not possible, right?
You agree with him? All right. I didn't think you would have trouble with this, but it seems like we have trouble with this. Brother Hanif, you want to say something?
Yes, Matabi'i.
Mad tabi'i, yes. Brother Abu Yahya also said mad tabi'i, and it is a mad tabi'i. Why? That's the key question. Why? If it is mad tabi'i, why? Say again? All right. Do you agree with what Brother Hanif said?
What he said?
He said we have alif at the end of the word, so it is mad tabi'i. And I did mention it previously, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. All right. Yes, Brother Mustafa.
Maybe when you say that it is followed by Hamza, so it's, part of it is to pronounce it. But if you're not pronouncing it, then it goes back to, it's not followed by Hamza, it's not followed by a sukoon, so it has to be tabi'i.
Yes, this is the correct answer. And we said it a few minutes ago. The condition for mad tabi'i is that it shouldn't be followed by a sukoon, whether original or not, and it shouldn't be followed by a hamza. When I say it's not followed by a hamza here, it is because I stopped. Anytime you stop, then you don't have to look at what is after it. That means it is as if you don't have anything after it. So we have harful mad, and it's not followed by anything, right? And most importantly, it's not followed by a sukoon, and it's not followed by hamza. So it is mad tabi'i, which means that if I stop here, I have to say inna, and that's it. The common mistake is that people, maybe not in this particular verse. No, I'm referring to a surah. Maybe if I tell you what it is, you will, if you haven't heard it before, you will find people doing this. Surah Al-Iqra, I believe. Well, it may have been a different surah, but in this surah, in Surah Al-A'la, which is no, sorry, Surah Al-Alaq. Surah Al-Alaq. I think that's the surah because I opened Surah Al-A'la by mistake. Surah Al-Alaq, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. In this surah, in ayah number Yeah, I guess it includes the what you just said now, kalla. But also at the end of the surah, at the end of the ayah number 6, ayah number 7, ayah number 8, and then ayah number 10, ayah number 11, ayah number 12, ayah number 13. These words, they end with an alif, and in the next ayah there is a hamza. Right? In the next ayah there is inna ila rabbika ar-ruj'a, and then there is ara'ayta alladhi yanha, and then there is ara'ayta in kana ala al-huda, and then aw amara bit-taqwa. So you see there is hamza right after it in the next ayah. So if a person doesn't stop at the end of those ayat, the ayat that I mentioned, it's not all of them, but in the ones I mentioned, then he would have al-mad al-munfasl, right? Because clearly the hamza is in another word, right? Clearly. And I will come back to this, what I mean by this. So we have a mad al-munfasl if we continue. So if I make the mad al-munfasl 4 haraka or 5, so I would read أَرَّآهُ اسْتَغْنَى إِنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الرُّجْعَى, like this, right? I made the mad al-munfasl 4 haraka, which is at the end of the first ayah I just read. But if I stop, I would say أَرَّآهُ اسْتَغْنَى, like this. So the common mistake here is that people will make the mad al-munfasl 4 haraka anyways. Like, let's say if they usually make it 4, even if they stop here, they would make it 4. So they would say أَرَّآهُ اسْتَغْنَى, like this. And this is wrong. Right? This is wrong. Because they probably didn't learn it properly. Right? They didn't learn that this mad, and of course this happens to a person who learned it by himself at home. Right? If a person tries to learn this by himself, he would find this sign of mad, alamat al-mad, on top of this alif. So he would, whenever he sees it, he will just make the mad. Of course, the alamat al-mad, this sign of mad that they use here, is useful, but it could be tricky sometimes if you don't know that by stopping you will not be making that mad, then you will make a mistake. Right? The other issue that some people will have are people who don't understand the Arabic language. Not all people who don't understand the Arabic language will have this issue, but some of them, they will have problem distinguishing the words from each other. So a person, and I have been told this by a few people, that so some people, they may not be sure, is this the end of this word or this is part of the whole thing? And we'll see it in other examples where even Arabic speaking people will have trouble. We will see it today actually in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 143. So of course, if you don't know if the hamza and harful mad, are they in the same word or not, then you may not be able to deal with it properly. Of course, the work around here for people who have this issue, especially people who have this issue, is to make the mad al-munfasl equal to the mad al-muttasil. Which means if you make them both 4, and you are allowed to make them both 4, you will not care. You won't have this problem. And the only thing you have to deal with is the mad al-lazim. The mad al-lazim is the only one that will be longer than these two. What I mean by this is in terms of script. You see, when you see harakat al-mad, this sign of mad, they put it on the mad al-muttasil and the mad al-munfasl and the mad al-lazim, right? And in some masahif they put it in the same manner. So if a person doesn't know how to distinguish between these 3, then he should make the mad al-muttasil and munfasl equal. They make them 4. And even if he makes a mistake in the mad al-lazim, Mad al-lazim, as we said, is not very frequent in the Quran, so he will not be making a lot of mistakes because this mad al-lazim is not present very frequently in the Quran. So this is like how to go around this problem. Now, what I recommend to people when it comes to al-mad al-munfasl, as we said, al-mad al-munfasl comes probably second, if not third, after al-mad al-tabi'i and al-mad al-arid al-sukun. It could be before or after mad al-arid al-sukun in terms of frequency. Very frequent. And you can see it in this surah, Surah Al-Alaq, اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق, how many mad munfasil we have. Right? We have quite a few. So it is very frequent. And if you read this with a long mad, that means if you choose 4 or 5, then it's more tiring. You're going to be taking a lot of deep breaths. And you're going to be slower. And usually in Salat al-Tarawih, for example, if you are leading Salat al-Tarawih, if you read with 4 or 5, they will not want you to read more than 2 rak'ah. Like one brother, he started the Tarawih, they gave him 8, and then the next day they gave him 4. And then the following day they wanted to give him 2. Right? This is what happened. Because of this, because of the mad al-munfasil, if you make it long, then it takes more time. So usually Tarawih recording, when you listen to Tarawih recording, whether it is from the Haram or anywhere else, most of the time they make it 2. They make it 2. So for if you are memorizing, if you are trying to find the best way or the easiest way of reading the Quran or memorizing the Quran, the best bet is 2. Right? The best bet is 2. And this is how I recite. I recite with this. And of course, it is an authentic narration. It is allowed, not only allowed, but it is a connected chain of narration that reads with 2 haraka. So when you read it with 2, if you read it with 2, you will have al-mad al-tabi'i 2. You will have al-mad al-munfasil 2. The only thing that will still be long is al-mad al-arid al-sukun. That will be 4. It's more comfortable to make it 4, as we discussed it. And the mad al-lazim, which will be 6. And of course, al-mad al-muttasil, that stays at 4, together with the mad al-arid al-sukun. So you will have, basically, in terms of, if you go with this formula, you will have al-mad al-tabi'i and al-mad al-munfasil with 2, both of them. And then you will have al-mad al-arid al-sukun and al-mad al-muttasil with 4. And then al-mad al-lazim will be 6. And those are not very frequent anyways, the mad al-lazim and al-mad al-muttasil. So this is the formula. And the recording for this, if you are following this method, is Sheikh Mahmoud Khalil al-Hussari, the recording of the Egyptian radio. It is found in Islam Way, and it is also found in Islam Web and maybe other websites, which is a very nice, one of the best recording that the Sheikh did with 2 haraka. Because most of the other recordings are with 4. So this one is a very unique. It is high quality, most of them, if you get to the high quality, and it is read with 2. And it is short, it is nicer and faster to listen to it and to imitate it. So this is the recommendation that I have. But you don't have to go with my recommendation, especially as I mentioned, if you have this issue of distinguishing which word is which. And especially if you already memorized quite a bit of Quran with a certain type of mad, of course you cannot go back, or it may be difficult to go back. Any questions? We're going to talk about it as we read the ayah today. We're going to read the word ha'ula, inshallah. Yes, brother.
Can you speak a bit more about the notation of mud and when it is not, it is there and you don't have to recite on that?
Say again, brother Salman.
For the notation of mud on, there's a long sign.
Yeah.
sometimes like we don't stretch the word even if it's there.
All right. Of course, the sign that they use in the Mus'haf looks like this. I don't remember what they call it in English. So this sign, as I said, they use it for three things. They use it for al-mad al-lazim, and they use it for al-mad al-muttasal that we took last week, and they use it for this type of mad, today's mad, al-mad al-munfasal, right? So the issue when you are using the same sign is that you have to know which one is which, right? So the workaround, let's say if a person comes and decides to make this mad, or whenever he sees this sign, he would make 6 haraka. Is he going to be right or wrong? Let's say this is, we are not talking in a scientific manner. We're talking about a person opening the Quran and realizing that sign, because at the end of the Mus'haf they would say this sign means, make a mad, make it long. So he would make anything that has this, he would make it 6 haraka. What would be the issue? Yes, Brother Hanif.
Only when he stops at the word, then we should, otherwise I think it's perfectly.
All right. I'll come back to you.
Take more effort.
It will take more effort. It's a good point. Anybody else has something else? Something else?
If he has chosen to do 2 haraka in mid-ard sukun, then it would be 0.
If he chose to make 2 haraka in the mad al-arad li-sukun.
Yeah. So there won't be consistency because this one is 6.
Well, it needs a little bit of explanation, but let me comment on these two comments first, because that one is a little bit sophisticated. I will tell you why. Brother Hanif said that the only issue with a person selecting to do 6 haraka whenever he sees this sign is that whenever he stops, like you have seen in this Surah Al-Alaq, he may stop on a word that has this sign at the end of the word. Then he will be wrong because it's only 2 haraka, as we gave the example earlier. And it is true, this is the only issue. Brother Abu Yahya, what did you say again? You said that he's going to make more effort. It is true. Let's assume that this person is willing to make more effort. Right? It is true. I mean, that's why I recommended to make it 2, the munfasil, to make less effort. Right? Not everybody has is able to take deep breath and read a long ayat. So let's assume that that's not an issue, right? The comment that Brother Salim said is that if he makes al-mad al-arad li-sukun 2, then he will have an issue. You are assuming that he's going to be making 2 even if he stops at al-mad al-muttasal or mad munfasil? Is that what you are assuming? Most likely he will not be doing that because this person, most likely he doesn't know a lot of tajweed. He decided to go by the sign. So most likely he will not make it shorter than 6 or 4, even if he stops. Because he already decided to go with 6. Whenever he sees this sign, he will go with 6. Yes, Brother Mustafa.
But isn't it like, for example, let's say the word yasha, and he starts to do with 6 haraka if he's continuing. But there may be a word such as al-alamin. He does it too because it's mad al sukun, right? So now he's doing yasha even when he stops at 6, where mad al sukun, where the tilde is not there, is 2. It's conflicting.
Why is it conflicting?
Because it turned to mad al sukun if he stops at yasha, right? But
No, you are saying the same thing that Brother Slim is saying. You are assuming that he's going to make this into 2, but this has the sign of mad, and he already decided to make it 6. He's not going to make it 2, even if he makes it. He's making the mad al-arad li-sukun 2. when he stops at this, he will make it 6 because he already decided. So that's not
I see what you mean. Yeah.
that's not an issue for this particular scenario. Yes, Brother Hanif. Brother Salman?
Like last week's homework, Surah Baqarah, ayat 21.
Yes.
So, Walamma Adama, so like, people were not stretching it because the way I learned Tajweed, like I'm one of those person who go for 6 paragraphs when I see this.
Yeah. So you see, this is it depends on your level of sophistication, and even if you are teaching this, not everyone can understand all the details of Tajweed. Right? To make it simple to a person who doesn't know anything about Tajweed, and let's say he doesn't have the ability to learn the details, you have to give them something usable, right? Something usable, at least to get them going. Because sometimes it's better to make it long than to make it short. In most cases, it's better to make it long than to make it short, right? So if you can avoid them making more mistakes, let's say instead of making a lot of mistakes, they will be making less mistakes. We are not talking about perfection here. We're talking about minimizing the mistakes. Then there are ways, and this is one of the ways, to try to minimize for them the number of mistakes. This is one way. We're talking about not only a beginner, somebody who's never heard of Tajweed, and he's not even willing to learn Tajweed. So you just want some tips, how to read. So this is a workaround. It's not a scientific method. It's not something that we are learning here. Here we are trying to learn a little bit more details than this, right? I hope it's not confusing. All right. Any other question? It's very important for us to know what are the common mistakes. Right? We benefit from knowing what mistakes people usually do, and this is basically this is part of the experience. Experience is not something that you would learn. Experience is something that you live, right? You live the experience. If you teach people, then the more you teach, the more you know how to teach them. You become familiar with the mistakes that they do, right? And you will be able to give them advice or give them tips on how to avoid certain problems and how to fix. Basically, sometimes you have to have an easy fix, depending on the person, right? So I gave 2 things today, right, regarding like two recommendations, like 2 or 3 recommendations. I think there are 3. Let me try to say them again. What I recommend and the way I recite is that I make the Mad al-Munfassil 2 haraka. This saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of breath. You don't use up as much oxygen, right? So you are like green, right? and you will review faster. You will read faster. It has a lot of benefit. I have practiced this, and I had to make a hard decision at one point. And since I made that decision, I'm still convinced that this is the way to go. And as I said, the recording is available. Sheikh Mahmoud Khalil Husari, he was the first, as I said, Sheikh who recorded the whole Quran, first time in the history, basically. And he did, alhamdulillah, record this with 2 haraka. It's the best reference and the good reference. So that's the advice for people who are familiar with these rules that we spoke about. They are comfortable with all the rules that we spoke about so far. But for a person who is new to this and he's not able to, let's say, distinguish between the Mad al-Munfassil and the Mad al-Muttasil, or having difficulty finding or distinguishing between the Munfasil and the Muttasil, and we will see the example now when we read how difficult it could be sometimes, then if he goes with 4, that's the second option. If he goes with 4, then he will only have to deal with the mad al-lazim. The mad al-lazim because it will have the same sign, right? But it is less frequent. That means even if he makes a mistake, it's going to be once in a while. It's not too often. The third option, we said, if somebody is really new to this and he's not able to distinguish between any of these types of mad, we would say that if you see this sign, just make it as long as possible. Right? Just go for it. Make it as long as possible, and you will be fine, right? Except if you stop. I mean, even if you add this component, if you tell him, except if you stop, it's easy to understand, right? You tell him, you do this, make it as long as possible, except if you stop on it. If he's able to implement this second instruction, then he will be close to, getting all of them right. So these are, I believe, 3 options. And we'll see, inshallah, now the example with this ayah that we're going to read, inshallah, today. All right? All right, so today it was supposed to be Surah An-Nisa, Surah number 4, ayah number 143. Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 143. All right. Usually the way we read this ayah is we read it twice. So I'm not going to ask everyone to read it twice, but if you want to read it twice, then you have to make the first one, the first time you read it, you make the mad al-munfasl 2 haraka, and the second time you read it with 4 or 5. So first time short, second time long. If you want to do this, this is like a good practice. And of course, you have to go back home and recite it again. I mean, it's not, there's not very much time here to do a lot of practice. So I will call the names, and if you want to do it like this, or else you just read it once, just tell me, what are you doing? Doing short or long? All right, Brother Abdullah. So what are you doing, both of them, Brother Abdullah? Sorry, you doing both of them? All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
Go ahead. Second time.
مذبذبين بين ذلك.
No, I didn't say anything.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
So what do you think? No comment? Yes, Brother Salim.
And then it's short. It's not full.
So the second time
The second one.
is short.
Yeah, it's not full.
It's not 4.
I think.
All right. Was it consistent? Like, was it like consistent, or was it like sometimes short, sometimes long? All right. So he needs a little bit of work. All right. Jazakallah khair. You want to say something?
No, I guess the first one, like, because I make like the منفصل one.
You are not used to that. Are you used to that? You are not used to that. All right. Yeah. It was clearly that it shows that you are not used to it, which is fine. Which is fine. Of course, the second one was better than the first one. Yeah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Adil. Both of them. All right.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلى هؤلاء ولا إلى هؤلاء مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلى هؤلاء ولا إلى هؤلاء.
MashaAllah. You need a deep breath to do this, inshallah. Well, the same thing. It's okay, you can stop there. I mean, the main component is the first part of the ayah anyway. So the first one, the second one was clearly better than the first one, right? Do you agree? And we'll see why, inshallah, we'll come back to it. We'll see why. The second one was better, and maybe this is how you usually read.
Yeah? I practice it with 4.
You practice with 4. Yeah. Anyone who makes it usually long, it's more challenging to go like short. Jazakallah khair. Yes.
Excuse me. If we wanted to make it long, can we stop? Can we say مذبذبين بين ذلك and take the breath and finish?
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that because the meaning, inshallah, is complete. Because sometimes we use this sentence. We say La ilaha illa wa la ilaha. Is neither with this group or with that group, right? So inshallah, it's okay to stop there. Yeah. All right, brother Ahmed, you are by yourself today. Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلا هؤلاء ولا إلا هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
So this was the long or the short, or you just want to do one?
This was the long.
The long one.
Yes.
So you only want to do the long one. All right. When you say ila, you are kind of making a shadda on the lam. You are saying illa. So make sure you read it ila. La ila, not illa. It's like you are putting more emphasis, like too much emphasis on the lam. All right? Jazakallah khair. Less trouble for you. Brother Baghdad. You're doing both or one? All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلى هؤلاء ولا إلى هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
ومن يضلل. What's the rule here? ومن يضلل. إدغام. All right. All right. That's better. So this was short or long? This was short? Okay, let's see the long then. Well, maybe for you it was short. Let's see the long then. Go ahead.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء
وَمَن
يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
So what do you think?
With 4 and 5, with a shorter and
4 and 5. All right. The second one obviously was better than the first one. The first one, we'll come back to it. I mean, most of you are having trouble with the first one. Yes, Brother Salim.
I think there is no consistency in the method. In level, it was a little bit short. Level, Selina. So it was like cut.
I didn't feel that, but the major issue was with the first one, the first reading. This is where we wanted to see a clear difference, which we didn't see. We'll come back to it, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Hanif.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا
Go ahead.
لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
Jazakallah khair. So what do you think? No comment? Yes.
Felt that Ila was extra math.
The second one?
Ila.
The second one? The first one. All right, but overall, it was good. Overall, it was good. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
He made the stop in Vedica to gain some prayer.
To give himself more chances, yeah. Don't do like Brother Adil. Say again? After Dalika? All right, mashallah. I didn't know, yeah. In this mushaf there's no silly. I guess it makes sense what I just said earlier to Brother Ibrahim, yeah. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, it is actually your turn. I just mentioned your name, but it's your turn. It's your turn. You want to read both of them? All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Is it appropriate to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim here?
No.
Why not?
Because this ayah is for people who are not
100%. The hypocrites, yeah. Well, this is the quality of the hypocrite. I was thinking about this ayah the other day, and this is the quality of basically the hypocrite, that if anyone has this quality...
Even before this ayah, the ayah before this one talking about Muathin.
Yeah. Probably the whole page almost talking about the munafiqeen. So this quality is basically, if a person has this quality, it doesn't mean that he's a hypocrite, but he should try to get rid of this quality, that sometimes he's with this group because they are winning, or they have more money, or they serve his interest, and another day he's with the other group because they serve his interest. This is what it's talking about. All right. Ameen.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء.
Jazakallah khair. Obviously, we still have this issue that the second one is always better than the first one. The first one is more challenging, plus the consistency. Because here, clearly, we have the same word, ha'ula and ha'ula. They have to be the same, right? It's the same word. So when we are listening to them, they have to be the same. If they are not the same, we will notice right away because it's the same word. The way you read the first one is the same way you should be reading the second one. All right, so consistency is the key. All right? جزاك الله خير.
When we stop at هؤلاء,
Say again?
when we stop at هؤلاء,
Yeah.
then we should hear Hamza again, I think.
Yeah, we should hear the Hamza, but of course without qalqala. Right? هؤلاء, like this. It's like a sudden stop basically. جزاك الله خير. Brother Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
جزاك الله خير. So what do you think? All right. MashaAllah. جزاك الله خير. Brother Mustafa.
I'm better with 4 and 4, but I'll try that too.
All right.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء
Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah. Except the word yudlili, the lam, both lams are soft. So you said yudli, you said yudla, yudlili. So yudlili, yudlili. Alright, Jazakallah khair. Brother Nasser is not here. Brother Sajjad.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن
Jazakallah khair. Good effort in the first one, except that the second ha'ula, when you say ha, it was not the same as when you said the first one. Right? So again, consistency, because it's the same word. It was shorter. The second one was shorter when you said ha. It was longer. Did I say longer or shorter? The second one, the second word, the ha, I think was longer than the first one. Jazakallah khair. Brother Yahya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
So what do you think? MashaAllah. He learned from the others. Did you learn from them? All right. MashaAllah. That was good. Jazakallah khair. Brother Abu Yahya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
This was supposed to be the short one? Okay. inshallah.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
Inshallah. So what do you think? I think no, I think Yahya did a better job. So you can teach him at home. Show him a few things. The consistency was not there. Plus the short one, the one that was supposed to be short was kind of long. plus the consistency. We'll inshallah come back to it inshallah after everyone finishes reading. Well, Yahya learned from his father, now he's teaching him a better version. Brother Slim. Just with two?
Yeah.
All right.
مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلى هؤلاء ولا إلى هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
Jazakallah khair. What do you think? I think the last ones are lucky because they gain experience. All right, Jazakallah khair. Brother Salman. A'udhu. A'udhu. You remember, Brother Salman? The tip of the tongue. A'udhu.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
مذبذبين. Remember, the tip of the tongue out. مذبذبين. مذبذبين
بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا.
All right, just remember if you stop on هؤلاء, then you have to put a sukoon on the hamza, right? Like the word yasha. So هؤلاء. So if we stop, we don't say هؤلاء. We put a sukoon. You know this already. Yeah, just make sure you do that. So was this short or long?
I practice like this way.
All right. This was kind of medium, which is good enough for now. Jazakallah khair. Good effort. All right. Let me read it and then we'll comment on a few words on this in this ayah and maybe clarify a few things, especially the word هؤلاء. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا. مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إله هؤلاء ولا إله هؤلاء ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا. Let's talk about the word هؤلاء first, and then we'll come back to a few things. The word هؤلاء I'm going to write it exactly as it is written in the Mus'haf, or try to. So this is how it is written in the Mus'haf. So what kind of mad do we have here? Yes, brother Abu Yahya. Yahya?
مد المتصل.
What about?
The land
After this lam? Here? We have mad muttasil? What's the proof? Harf al-mad followed by hamza. Do you want to answer, Abu Yahya? No, I'm just asking. Do you want to answer or let him answer? All right. Let me. All right. Jazakallah khair. That was from him, right, or from you? All right. Contribution. All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Abdullah.
We have mad munfasil in the first alif.
Here.
Yeah.
But do you agree with them or you don't agree?
I don't know what he's saying.
You don't know what? Okay, you didn't hear him. He said we have a mad muttasil here because we have alif followed by hamza.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree with him? So we have something else in this word?
Munfasil.
Here. Munfasil. Why?
Because alif, ha,
Yeah?
it's different word. Separate word.
Separate word.
Yeah, ha, ula.
So what is separate?
Alif separate than the hamza and the.
So the alif is in one word and the hamza is in another word. Do you agree with him?
Yes.
Who doesn't agree? Who doesn't agree with what he just said? You don't agree? You agree. Who doesn't agree? All right. What Brother Yahya said was correct. So we have mad lazim because we have alif, this alif here, which is about to fall. Muttasil.
You said lazim.
I said lazim? All right. I said lazim by mistake. So muttasil. I was trying to repeat what he said. That's why he defended himself. I didn't say that. So mad muttasil, we have this alif which is about to fall, followed by hamza in the same word. So it is mad muttasil. So how long do we make this? Quite long?
245.
2, 4, 5. Do you agree with him? No. All right, it's 4 or 5. It's 4 or 5, and 6 if you want. So 4. 4 is the minimum for this, because it's in the same word. So Brother Abdullah said, we have mad munfasil here. Mad munfasil is this one, today's mad. Because we have an alif, followed by a hamza, in 2 separate words. And this is what confuses a lot of people. Right, this word confuses a lot of people, even people whose first language is Arabic. They may not know that this is actually two words, because this ha is called ha of what do they call it? Of nida, not nida. Ha of ishara, to show something. That means if I'm trying to give you something, I would say ha, right, to bring it to your attention, right? Or point to, right? Here it is. Here it is. So even though it may seem as if it is the same word, but actually it's not the same word. And we will see next week is Surah Al-Kafirun, we will see a similar example. A similar example. Does it remind you of something I said earlier? Does it remind you of something I said earlier? Yes, brother. If you stop. All right. All right. Brother Hanif?
I was just thinking, how can we stop it?
No, I don't think anybody will stop at ha. What I was, if you remember the advice I was saying earlier, for a person who may not be able to distinguish, not everyone, as I said, even the Arabic speaking, will be able to know, is it one word or 2 words? Because the mad will depend on it, especially if you are making the mad al-munfasil short. If you make a mad al-munfasil short, you will have to be able to know if it's 2 words or 1 word. If you are making it 4, and this was the advice I gave earlier, if you make the mad al-munfasil equal to the mad al-muttasil, you make them both 4, then you don't need to know which one is which. You just read them the same, right? But if you make it short, then you will have to be more advanced. You will have to, somebody who's reading short, mad munfasil, he will probably be more advanced. He will know more tajweed. He has to know more tajweed, and he has to be familiar with the words too. These words are very frequent in the Quran. Ha'ula is very frequent. You find it quite a bit in the Quran. And there are other words that are similar. Like we will see next week, inshallah, Surah Al-Kafirun. So if a person is doing 4, when he gets to these kind of words, he's safe. So he doesn't need to know if it's 2 words or 1 word, right? So in this ayah, especially the first part of the ayah, مُذَبْذَبِينَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ لَا إِلَهَ هَؤُلَاءِ وَلَا إِلَهَ هَؤُلَاءِ. This first part, we have quite a few mad tabi'i, right? If you want to look at them with me, I don't want to write down the whole ayah, just look at them with me. مُذَبْذَبِينَ, right? مُذَبْذَبِينَ, we already have mad tabi'i at the end. مُذَبْذَبِينَ. If we stop, we have mad arid al-sukun, but most likely we're not going to stop here. And then we have ذَلِكَ. ذَلِكَ, we have a mad tabi'i as well. ذَلِكَ. And then we have la. What kind of mad here? Mad munfasil. Because we have la. La is also one of the words that are very frequent in the Quran. La. Because we have alif followed by hamza in the next word. And then we have ila. So we have mad tabi'i again. And then we have this word ha'ula. We already spoke about it. And then wala again. The same la, similar to the first one. And then we have ila, which is also similar to the first one with mad tabi'i. And then we have again the word ha'ula. So here you have 2 cases, like 2 options, like we did today. Either you make al-mad al-munfasil 2, or you make it 4 together with al-mad al-muttasil. Right? So the first option, if you selected the first option, that will mean that the mad al-munfasil will be equal to the mad tabi'i. So if you make the mad al-munfasil 2, it will be equal to al-mad al-tabi'i, which is 2. Which means that you will have all of them at 2, except how many? Except 2. Except 2, which is this one in the first word, and again in the second word. Right? That's the only 2 that you will have that are above 2, which is 4. Everything else will be 2, which means that they have to be equal. This is what I'm getting at. They have to be equal. When I'm listening to you, I have to hear them equal, consistency. So when I read them, I have to make sure I say La ilaha, like this. La ilaha, like this, they sound equal. Wa la ilaha, like this. And this is how you practice it at home. You say it like this. La ilaha, wa la ilaha. Of course, the mad muttasil, la-i. And then the second one, la-i. And then you go back. La ilaha ula'i wa la ilaha ula'i. You see how it sounds? I don't want to use the word perfect, but in terms of consistency, it sounds equal. The 2 is equal to the 2 is equal to the 2, and then the 4 is double the 2. And then 2, 2, 2, double 2. When I say double 2, I mean that it has to sound double the 2. Because it's cheap to say it's 4. But is it double 2? It has to sound double 2. Right? Now, if I choose the second option, The second option is the mad al-munfasil, let's say 4. I selected to be equal to the mad al-muttasil. I make them equal to make it easy for myself. Make the two of them equal. That means I would be dealing with how many? I would be dealing with all of the ones that have the sign of mad. So we have about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? We have 6. The issue with this one, even though most of you got the second one because you are more used to it, the issue with this one is that in between some of them, you have to drop back to 2. Right? La ilaha ula wala. Right? So in between, you have to be able to drop back to 2. And this is, some of you had this issue, is that you made the ila, you made it long, for example, because you were high and you didn't drop back to 2, all the way to 2, right? So we have to be able to go back up and then come down to pronounce the ila and the ha. No, in this case, the ila only. Right? So I would say la ilaha ula'i wa la ilaha ula. So the only one that are 2 in this part of the sentence is the ila, both ilas. Right? So we have 4, 4, 4, and then 2. Right? Now we have 4, 2, 4, 4, 4, and then 2, and then 4, 4. Is this clear? It's about timing and consistency. And this is basically, we are not only dealing with the mad al-munfasil now, we are dealing with the mad al-tabi'i, we are dealing with the mad al-muttasil, and we are dealing with the timing and consistency. Yes, brother.
I hope when we start the lesson in mad al-tabi'i, I hope that we have to make at least 2 harakat, and then aqal harakat. That's mean if, for example, we read the mad al-tabi'i with more than 2 harakat. Is it wrong?
If that's what I said, I didn't mean that. What we meant when we talked about the mad al-tabi'i is that harful mad will be extended at least 2 haraka. Harful mad itself will be extended at least 2 haraka. Right? That's why we came back today and said, if there is no sukoon or hamza after it, then it will be considered a mad al-tabi'i, and it will be extended only to haraka. Right? So we are trying to distinguish between harful mad, as we said at the beginning. Harful mad is the letter itself, and the mad is the action. So we are trying to distinguish between the two. So harful mad, this harful mad it will be extended at least 2, which is the case of al-mad al-tabi'i. And the condition here is that harf al-mad shouldn't be followed by a sukoon or a hamza to be a mad al-tabi'i. And in this case, it's only 2. So maybe the wording that you wrote is connected to harf al-mad itself, not the mad al-tabi'i. So harf al-mad itself is extended at least 2. Right? To cover all cases. It's at least 2, but it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 6, depending on what comes after it. Is it clear? All right. Any other questions? All right. So next week, inshallah, the topic is basically a review of all the rules of level 2, at least the ones that we did in level 2, and also we will practice a little bit something similar to what we did today, which is in Surah Al-Kafirun, which seems to be simple, but you will see that we will make it a little bit more challenging. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. And at the end of the review, the first 6 people that I called today, the order that you read today, Brother Abdullah, Brother Adil, Brother Ahmed, both of them, Brother Baghdad, and Brother Hanif, if you are able to as well, you will do the test after the course. So everyone else can go home, and those 7 people will stay to do the test. The first batch of tests. The test is Surah Al-Mutaffifin. You just read the whole surah, and you'll have 3 questions at the end. And then the following week, the following people will do the test at the beginning, before the class. So we are basically doing it in small batches, so that we'll continue doing the lessons, and we are trying to finish level 3 before Ramadan. The last lesson is June 10th, and by then, hopefully, we'll be doing the last lesson of level 3, if not the test. And it is possible now that you reminded me that we did this 1 year, and we left the test until after Ramadan. The reason is that the test in level 3 requires memorizing a surah or part of a surah. So it is a good opportunity to finish level 3 and not do the test. Just finish level 3 and then do the test once we come back to continue level 4. Do the test and continue level 4. And it will also give you the opportunity to memorize the surah for those who want to memorize the surah. If you don't memorize the surah, you will start the test with minus 15 points, which is basically a workaround, because not everyone is interested in memorizing or is able to memorize. And this is just a workaround. So that's the plan. I hope it's clear. So next week, if you want to, inshallah, be with us. We do the review, we practice Surah Al-Kafirun, and then you can go home, and the 6 or 7 people that I mentioned will do the test, and then the following week, the next batch of people, inshallah. All right? جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.